Welcome to Building Birmingham Together, a show about Birmingham's business leaders, successes, failures, and lessons learned to encourage you to remember that dreaming is free, but the hustle is sold separately. I'm your host, Kim Lee, founder and CEO of Forge. Today, I'm joined by Jacqueline Jones. Jacqui is the CEO of One Degree Marketing, a digital marketing and strategy firm with a heart for small business and startups. Jacqui is also the founder of Elevation Academy, which just launched a few months ago. Elevation Academy is the one-stop resource and community for entrepreneurs ready to elevate through an online digital platform that provides training and knowledge on social media, email marketing, website development, and marketing strategy for small businesses, brands, and organizations. Jacqui is also a wife to Isaac and a mother to the cutest 4-year-old little boy. Building Birmingham Together is brought to you today by Forge. Forge is Birmingham's first professional co-working space located in the heart of downtown Birmingham at the Pizitz building. With private offices, open workspaces, as well as meeting and event space, Forge is the place where small business owners and entrepreneurs come together, meet new people, and get work done. If you would like to find out more about Forge, you can visit workatforge.com. Well, Jacqui, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, I'm so excited to have you on this podcast. I tell you all the time, so I will tell everybody listening that Jacqui is the wisest friend I have and the smartest friend I have. So the challenge today is going to be, of all that wisdom and all those smarts and knowledge, how we pull it out in this podcast. There's a lot of pressure on me.
Well, but we also know that because I love you so much, it's just hard to hold it in the road and stay on task. That's the other challenge, is to stay on task.
So stay on task. Yes, absolutely. So we will promise you that we are going to try to stay focused and stay on task.
It's a promise, not a guarantee.
That's right. That's right. But you know, Jacqui, what I love and admire about you is just you have always had a vision, you've always had a mission, and you just continue to pursue it no matter what. And just your hustle and creativity and drive to push your dream and vision and business forward is just amazing to watch. And I love that it comes across in everything that you do, that it is not just because you want to have a business that is successful and you want your name to be great. It is because you really love the businesses that you are supporting and you truly want other people to be successful. And I know you can help them be successful, but I know that is your drive, and everything you do is so that you can provide more resources and help more people. So I love watching the work that you do.
Thank you. And you are dead on. It's more about everybody coming up kind of together than it is about just me. I mean, not that I don't want to be great, because I do. But I feel like I'm only as great as the community I'm a part of. So everybody has to rise together in order for it to overflow, kind of. Well, I should write that down. That was really good.
I know. You know what? Jacqui also hosts, she has done a lot of webinars for Forge, which we'll link to in our show notes. But one of the things that I love that Jacqui will do is when she is leading a webinar that are always fantastic, she'll say, "Oh, wait, that was really good. I'm going to write that down for later."
I have to write it down because, you know, you just start talking and you're like, oh, wait, that made a lot of sense, but I'm not going to remember it.
You're the wisest person I know. I'm telling you. Well, I want to get to, you have such a great story. And one of the things that I just love about hearing stories of entrepreneurs is because it's easy to sit back and look at you now and be like, oh, wow, well, she's awesome. And she has this great marketing firm and talks all the time. And other businesses too, like just to look at them 3 or 4 years down the road and think, oh, well, it just came to them. It just happened. But your journey is not a straight path.
No.
You've always had the desire. You've always had the same passion, but it's changed along the road. So I would love for you to share with us how One Degree came to be. I know that's a loaded question.
It is, but it's an interesting story, but I can make it short. We're gonna try anyway.
Okay.
I think there are some people in Birmingham who know me before full blown marketing firm, 1 degree life, and if they do, then they know like singer songwriter Jacqui. Which is like a whole, and the people who don't know any part of that life are like, Jacqui, singer songwriter, that's just weird. And so it's a very interesting thing. But I started as a songwriter. I got a marketing degree from Alabama, and so I was like, okay, well, I still want to do music, so I'm gonna go that route. And just over time, the traveling and all of that just became a lot, and I needed healthcare coverage. So I needed a job. And so I did decide to like start working just a regular day job. But the thing about it is that, in songwriting, you are basically telling people's story. You're listening to what they're going through, or you are just looking around at what's happening and deciding, okay, this is the part I want to pull out and kind of move forward with. Well, as I transitioned into like day job life, I went ahead and started to help my musician friends get endorsements and things like that. And I was like, okay, I have to tell their story now. Cool. But then I was like, wait a minute, hold up. I see something here. I see something here. So let me and eventually that started to I had a friend who started a bakery, and I was like, all right, well, let's try that out on this. It's all marketing, right? And I saw that path kind of open up, and I was like, all right, I can do this same thing for small businesses, for brands, for organizations, just like I would if it was an artist standing on a stage. I could just say, hey, let's talk about what you're trying to accomplish, who you're talking to, how we pull out these relatable things, and you stand on stage and you deliver it. It's the same thing. I get to be the songwriter of small businesses, basically.
Right.
And so that's how we ended up here is, the
Okay,
transition
but
of
I
songwriting.
want to go back just a second because you said you got a regular job.
Yeah.
What was your regular job?
I worked for the Social Security Administration.
Yeah.
For 8 years.
For 8 years, for a long time.
Yes.
And I think that is so much a part of your story.
Yes.
I mean, you gave up songwriting, but you still had that creativity, and you realized for your sake, for your family's sake, you had to do something a little different. But that passion and desire never went away. So I think, the journey can look so different for different people. And then I'm going to continue to pull out your story. You didn't just quit Social Security and go to start what you're doing now. Like, tell us just a little bit, just what that path looked like, the pieces of the puzzles that got you to where you could be full-time 1 degree.
And this is a really good question, because I think that there is this misunderstanding in life that you have to just jump off the cliff, and it's a clean jump every time. Now, for some people, that's totally the case. That's just not my situation. When I stopped working at Social Security, I had a 2-year-old, and that was not a smart idea. As much as I wanted to believe in it, it just still wasn't smart. And though my husband loves me dearly, we still had to have some level of a plan. And I went through co-starters with Create Birmingham, and just in there's a week in co-starters that talks about the numbers. And I used that time to walk my way out of my full-time job. And so I went part-time, and I was like, all right, 3 days at Social Security, 2 days. And I started coming to Forge, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna, spend some time here, work on 1 degree. And then I would switch. And then it was 2 days at Social Security, and then 3 days, working. And then I was like, all right, 2 days is enough. I'm out of here. On my birthday, I started on my birthday. I ended.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I was sitting in orientation on my birthday, and I literally had a going away party on my birthday.
That's amazing. But what a gift, 2 great gifts. One gift of like security, benefits, all of that. And then the next gift 8 years later is you're giving yourself your own business. So
I'm out of here.
Yeah. But I think that's great. So many times I hear people say, you just got to go for it. Just trust your passion and go for it. And sometimes that can be the case, but you're a wife, a mother, you have a family. Like I always tell people, you need to weigh the risks and
Yes.
see if you can afford those risks. And I think you are such a great example of doing that and doing it
Yeah.
responsibly. Yes.
Yeah. I just want, and I think people sometimes don't believe that you can weigh the risks and still have faith that it can happen.
Right.
Like people feel like you're one or the other, and that's not true. You still, even with risks, even calculating those risks, you still have to have a lot of faith that it's going to work out, because
Right.
if you decide to take the risk,
Right.
that's the faith part. But I think that sometimes people feel like, no, faith is supposed to be blind, and I just jump. And it's like, no, baby, there's a brick wall right there. We can see it. Open your eyes.
Yeah.
And so just trying to avoid the pitfalls that are very obvious, because there are plenty that are not obvious.
Right.
So trying to avoid the ones that are is way important.
Right. And I think you're not the first guest who's been through co-starters, but I think going through something like that is such a great opportunity to help see what those brick walls could be and if they
Yes,
are able to climb over or, what you're going to have to do just to prepare yourself to be prepared.
absolutely.
But then once you launched, everything was just like great, right?
Uh,
So I say that because Jacqui she was a TED Talk speaker, Birmingham TED Talk speaker in 2019, which will also be linked in the show notes because it is just a great TED Talk for any entrepreneur. But as she started her journey, it was very exciting. But then she experienced something that she has coined that I think is great. Did you, what, tell
Oh,
us what you
post
coined.
post passion depression.
Yeah. Tell us a
Yeah.
little bit about that.
And if there are any mothers out there listening, or fathers really, because it's not like fathers don't see this happening. I in that talk I compared it to postpartum depression, which is where that comes from. And just being able to draw these connections between going into something you're extremely excited about, and the people around you are like, yay for you, this is gonna be great, just do these things, buy the diapers bigger because they're gonna grow, all of this great stuff that they tell you, which is wonderful, and it's appreciated. However, when the fanfare ends and all of the confetti has landed, then you really start to walk down a journey that becomes more of a mental struggle, an emotional struggle than people are just prepared for. And not because they're not strong people, just because they had no clue that being in business, running a business, starting a business, and really for those people who are in careers, it's the same thing. As you press forward and go higher, you still end up facing these emotional and sometimes financial and relationship struggles that nobody took time to say, hey, yeah, so you and your spouse are probably going to fight a bit because you're going to be pulled away, or
Right.
no one warns you of that. And so you kind of go through this lull. But the purpose in that talk was just to say, hey, you're not by yourself. We, just like with postpartum depression, all entrepreneurs, all people who are building something go through this, questioning, should I be here? Should I do this? Why am I doing this? Why is it so hard? Like, we all go through that, but not enough people say it out loud. And I just wanted to say it out loud.
Yeah.
And I usually don't share personal things. I don't know why I let them talk me into doing that on a TEDx stage. But I was like, okay, sure, I'll talk about it since nobody else will, really.
But I think just even that term, the post-passion depression, because the entrepreneurial journey is so many ups and downs, but just
Yeah,
the passion and excitement, the value and the mission and the drive is still there, but the excitement comes and goes. And so just
yes,
to be
it
able
does.
to name it, and I mean, it's a great phrase that we need to
I'm in
incorporate more.
marketing. That's what we
Huh?
do. I'm in marketing. That's what
I
we
know.
do.
I know. See, you're so smart.
Put a name
Smartest,
on it. You
wisest.
got to put a
Yeah.
name on everything.
Yeah. So I know that what you love to do in one degree is really to help promote small business owners. So what is it that gives you this love and passion for small business owners?
That's a good question. You know, it's it's honestly about, I mentioned earlier about telling people's story. And, in any business development program, usually people talk about how you are building something to service other people.
Mhm.
Most people start their businesses solving a problem that they have for themselves, or
Yep.
solving, an issue that's close to them. And I think that, it's really important for me to help people transition from, oh, this is just something I'm passionate about, to becoming impactful in their own communities. So, I'm going to employ people, I'm going to grow my audience, I'm going to give this solution to multiple people. And that can be so hard when you're small or you're doing it by yourself. And I really want to see people have the impact that they're able to have. That's just really hard to do because everything costs money.
Yep.
Right. And marketing costs money. I send my fair share of invoices and I hope they all get paid. But I also have to remember that not everyone is in that position. And so I've been working really, really hard just to find other ways to support small, especially micro small businesses, to just transition from, I'm really passionate about this, or I'm really good at this thing, to I am changing what's around me, which is kind of the story of what 1 degree means.
Mhm.
It's about changing what's around you and making it consumable, and making sure that people can take it and it does something for them, that it nourishes them, that it nourishes their community. And so that's really, really important to me. And so I find myself looking for ways to make that happen over and over and over again.
Mhm. So what are some of those ways that you found?
So, it's really 2020 has been the magnifying glass to me figuring that out, actually, because, at the top of the year, as much as I would have liked to gone to all the entrepreneurs in the world of small businesses and said, hey, all of you need digital marketing now, come see me. They didn't have the money, or they were worried that they wouldn't be able to maintain revenue and things like that. And so I had already in the past kind of partnered with different organizations and did some facilitation and of programs like GoDaddy does this Empower program. I did that with True Fund Financial Services. So I had already kind of gotten into this kind of facilitation realm,
Yep.
but it was a way for me to find out how I could charge the cost to organizations and still get the help to entrepreneurs or to
Right.
small businesses. And so that was one way. And especially, like I said, this year, when pivoting was like the word of the year. How are
Yeah.
you going to pivot? How are you going to figure this out? A lot of it came down to marketing. And so we just have to figure out, this is in the small business or the business realm, where you say, I have an audience or a customer that's not the same as the end user. So I had to
Right.
look at a different audience and say, okay, organizations, you're getting grants, you're getting support, people are trusting your organization to help small businesses. My job was to get in there and say, hey, I can help you help small businesses.
Right.
So finding those ways, and then it's no cost or it's super low cost to the people that I really want to help. So that
Right.
was one of the ways. And then the other way was Elevation Academy, was trying to find a way to offer marketing at an affordable price.
Right. Okay. Before we get to Elevation Academy, because I think it's great, I do want to ask you a question for the small business owners who are listening, or entrepreneurs, or people who are thinking about starting their own business. Um, I know you have so much experience working with them. So just as a vendor side, or as a consultant strategy, you do so much more than marketing, I feel like, in your marketing job.
I
What
agree.
is the hardest part about working with small business owners? Like, as they're thinking about going in, sorry, that's not an easy question, but what perspective do you have that as they're going to people like you who need help, who can help them? Like, what is one of the hardest parts that you see that they're not quite prepared for?
Whew. That is a very loaded question.
Yes. How can you, what advice can you give them as they're coming to people like you?
You know, there are a couple of things, a couple very short, quick tidbits.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's about one, being open to hearing what can work. And not even the how to market better, but just in business development. Because that's the thing I keep running into, is that when I'm working with small businesses and they start saying, well, I want a website. And it's like, great, how does your business work? You know, what are you selling? How much is it? What's the strategy to that, so that I can communicate it? Oftentimes they haven't really thought to that level of detail. And so I think that people feel as though, and for the world out there, if you can hear my 4-year-old,
Oh,
please know this is the life we're living, right?
this is true life.
This is real life right now.
This is what it is. We can barely hear him. So.
Okay, well, that's what that is. I'm not smuggling a child, like I'm not pushing a child pillow. He's just far away.
And he is the cutest 4-year-old, so he can do no wrong in my eyes.
See, he gets away with everything. I get away with nothing. But, you know, it comes down to business development. And I think a lot of times, you know, and I've felt this way myself before, that we get into programs and we do things with people and they're like, well, have you thought about this foundational thing after foundational thing? We're like, no, I just want to get to the front lines, the social media, the website. It's like, there's so much work to be done in knowing who your audience is and knowing that. And so I run into that a lot of people who don't really want to take their time and figure that part out, but they want to rush to the front and say, hey, world, it's for sale. But then they have a hard time maintaining that. And so that's one thing. The bigger thing for me is to use your resources. You know, I went through Co-Starters. I've done a ton of programs in Birmingham. I talk to all the Forge members. I do whatever I can to pull on the people that I know, and just glean from them what I can. When you're trying to grow a business, whether you're working in it or it's yours, you've got to be willing to tap into your resources. You've got to be willing to ask for help, and then be willing to open to listening to it. And that's hard when you feel like it's my passion. It's really hard to do, but that's the problem I run into, is that people are like, I have it figured out. I just want you to do this piece. And I'm like, but you don't have it figured out yet. And I want to help you, but you got to listen a little bit. Yeah. Which I don't know everything. Let me just say that disclaimer. I don't know everything for sure, but I probably know somebody who knows somebody. And if you will allow me to push you that way, but you have to be open to that. And that can be hard.
Okay. Here's a harder question.
It gets harder?
That I didn't prepare you for. So can you, thinking back to your beginning days of One Degree, maybe, you know, like when you were still part-time, working on One Degree some, are there some times where you can see where you fell into that trap?
Yes, for sure.
Yeah.
You know, I am a very, you know, as much as I know I don't know everything, I don't always act like that.
Yeah.
And that's just that's why I have so much grace for people who are figuring it out, because there are things I probably could have put in place years ago. There are ways I could have gone about it, but also there's also the lack of belief that it's possible. Mm-hmm. And so there's a kind of space there for a lot of people, including me. And so there are some times in the early days, and I always talk about this about my husband. One day he asked me such an important question while I was still part-time. I just kind of met him, so I was almost offended by him asking this, but it triggered too many things for me to think about for me to really dislike him because of it. But he asked me one day, he said, why do you trust the government, your job, more than you trust yourself? Like, for some reason, you don't seem to believe. I know. And I was like, first of all, I don't know you like that. That's what I wanted to say. But I was like, that's a really good question.
That is a good question.
And as a government employee at the time, you know, every October we could get furloughed and they had to vote about whether we're getting paid and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, you know, I never looked at it that way. And so that's when I started to try to take One Degree way more seriously.
Yeah.
And that same year, Kim, we went on furlough.
Yep,
I was going on a trip to Europe and I did not get paid.
Yep.
Yes. And I was like, oh my gosh. But because I started to, you know, say, okay, well, what resources can I use? This is the year that I started Co-Starters and like just trying to find those ways. But until that really like kind of life-changing, don't tell him, y'all, that he changed my life. Don't tell him.
Won't.
Okay. It's a secret. But I definitely was one of those people was like, well, I'm just doing what I'm doing. It's working. It's fine. You know, I don't really want to listen to whomever. But that question really made me say, you know what? he's right. Oh, definitely don't tell him I said that.
Yep.
But yeah, so I've been that person, and sometimes I still feel like I am. But every day we have to practice in the small spaces being better, and that's what I try to do, and what I try to allow time and space for other small business owners and entrepreneurs to do when they're working with me. We all need that grace.
Yeah. Well, and that's one of the things that I think is so great about Elevation Academy, is because you looked at who you really serve and who your end user. You've discovered maybe your end user is different at one degree than who you're serving through one degree this year.
Yeah.
But you still wanted to be able to support and teach and train and give tools to those small business owners who are your end users, who you still want them to have the skills. And so tell us a little bit about Elevation Academy and why you decided to launch that, if I didn't.
You know, it's so true that I want everybody to just know. And I think that there's a fear that people have about, telling information that is kind of like the trade secrets and that kind of thing. The first thing that I have acknowledged in this life is that there's nothing that is not Googleable.
Right.
Everything I do is available on Google, right? It's hard to pull all of that into perspective and, what applies and what doesn't and all of that. And so there is the skill that I have in knowing how it works together, but nothing I do is not available on these interwebs. So, and I love teaching people. I don't sell marketing with one degree. I sell time.
Right.
There is nothing that I do. I'm probably better at it than some people, but they still could do it themselves.
Right.
And so oftentimes, when I would talk to people that are small business owners, startups just getting started, they want me to do it for them, but they're not in that place. And right now they have more time than money, basically.
Yep.
And my thing is this: if you can do as much as you can do with what you have, then you can get where you're trying to get. And then when you get to where you're ready to outsource it, where you have more money than time, one degree will be there to pick it up for you, and hopefully you'll trust us to do that. But for now, how do I, and this was my way of answering, how do I equip people, whether you're the person who just got assigned the marketing stuff in a small business or startup, that's not really what your core job is, but they ask you to do the social media. It's for people like that. It's for people who are starting a business, who are starting an organization, and they just need the basics, or they want to say, okay, I got the basics, but how do I put a little strategy to that? They just need that little bit more to push them a little bit further, to get them further down the road. And I just don't mind giving away the game. I really don't. If you are willing to learn it, and if you're willing to take the time with it, then you deserve every bit of what's on the other side of that. And just because you're not ready to pay an invoice does not mean I should keep that from you. And so Elevation Academy is just my way to say, you know what, for the cost of probably less than a really nice dinner every month, I will give you this information, but it's up to you to take it and apply it. That's the part, where the invoices are different. If I have to take it and apply it and I have to spend the time on it, then I send you the big 1 degree invoice.
Yeah.
If you are willing to put in the time and the energy and learn it and understand it, and I'm there to ask questions in Elevation Academy, I will answer them. Get where you're trying to get. How do I help you do that? And so Elevation Academy has just been my answer to how can you be as many people's marketing person as possible and help them get where they're trying to get. And people, it's not a money grab. People are like, oh, you should charge $99 a month. And I'm like, that kind of defeats the purpose a little.
Yeah.
I need it to be easily accessible, like easily accessible, because I know that there's a learning curve there. And I know that there has to be a motivation to learn more and do more. You're not going to do that if you also have to put out a bunch of money.
Yeah.
So I love it. I love it so much. I love teaching people, and the lunch and learns I've done at Forge is probably proof of that.
Hang on, you cut out just 1 second.
What I do, I really love it.
You cut out for just 1 second. You said the lunch and learns at Forge are, I think you said proof, but you cut out for just a second.
So yeah, the lunch and learns that I do at Forge are absolutely proof that I love teaching people. I love for them to get it. I love to see that light bulb go off. I love for them to just understand it. And I love dealing with them and making them know better and know how to go forward. I love it. Like it's one of my favorite things to do. I really think I was supposed to be a teacher.
I think you are such a great teacher, but I mean, through all of this, through the starting of One Degree, what you're doing with Elevate, it's all just you wanting to help other people
That's it.
succeed. And you get to do it through your passion of what you love. But it's just really amazing to watch you think of new ways that you can help people succeed. And thinking of this New Way Elevation Academy was not something that you just had like all the time in the world. So I'm going to do this, because One Degree is also really growing. And I know that you've had people who help you. You have a great team, but you've transitioned from having contract workers to now actually having people on payroll. So tell us a little bit, for people who are listening, who are going through that transition, thinking about it, what it's going to be like when one day you have to do that, what that transition, I'm laughing. Cause it's a big transition, what it has been like for you.
A big transition.
Yeah.
I just I recently had to answer a survey that asked what was the most challenging thing you've done in your business. And I was like, payroll, starting to hire people, because there's so many things. And this is right back to kind of that TEDx talk piece. There's so many things that people just don't mention, and not that they know to mention everything, right? But that bridge to actually hiring people and getting the legal part of it together, and making sure you have the licenses and the, unemployment and all of this stuff. I had to, because I work in an industry that needs Wi-Fi and devices and, laptops or computer, I had to buy equipment. And I was just like, oh my gosh, why did I do this again? It's hard. It was a very, very, very hard time for me to, and not hard in the impossible kind of realm, but just hard it was like a new learning curve. I've been in business for a while, and I'm like, hey, I got the swing of this thing.
Yeah.
And I found myself on new ground, and I was just like, oh my gosh, what I have to learn how to treat employees. I have to figure out what that process looks like. And then all these processes I had to put in place. Then I was like, I have to do an orientation. And it wasn't until the second day that I was with my new person that I was like, oh, wait, people usually talk about the business. Let me go back and go, well, here at One Degree, this is what we like to do. And this is what we believe. Like, I didn't do that the first day. I was just jumping right into it because I'd never done it.
Right.
And it was just, it's been very difficult, but I've learned so much. One, once you get over that hump, you're over it, right? You don't really revisit that again. But it has made the difference, even just because I just did this. Like last month, or a month or two ago. And on the other side of that, though, is there is someone else who wakes up in the morning and says, hey, I have to go to work today, and it's One Degree, and this is their priority. And this is, not just when I can get to it. And I love my independent contractors. I still, have all of them,
right?
But I also have to respect that they have other jobs and they have other priorities. But to have someone who is there for your business, for me to open capacity, to help more people, to give me more time to facilitate, to be a community manager to Elevation Academy, to do all of this stuff that really helps this business grow, to help more people, and also give them a space to grow and be a great person is the world to me. Like it has been probably the best part of my year, to be able to do that. But it was very difficult.
Yeah. Well, I think it's important for people to hear that, because, on the outside, we watch companies grow and it's just like, oh, look, they just added somebody else. But they're, as a leader, there's a lot that goes into that.
There's a lot. And then, in the cost of adding one person, again, being digital, every time I added someone to an Adobe license or Asana or Dropbox, it was like, all right, we're going to charge you $2 a day, $15 a day, $70 a day. I was just like, oh my God, this is adding up so quickly. And I just, not that I wasn't ready, but I wasn't mentally ready for sure.
Right.
And it's been a journey, but I'm so grateful to be in a place to have that struggle, So.
Oh man. Okay. Well, I feel like you've touched on this some, but I wanted to ask you outright. So the title of this podcast is Building Birmingham Together. And so I want to know what role you see your organizations, multiple, have in building Birmingham.
So, you know, one, I am grateful to be a part of the community that Birmingham has grown into.
Yeah.
Birmingham is such a special place. There's so many things growing in Birmingham and so many great people like yourself.
Oh,
I am only just seriously just lucky to have met you when I did, which was so random. Because I was just like, hey, I'm looking for co-working and I'm going through co-starters, and you like came to celebration night. And but just even in that is just a reflection of how great Birmingham is.
yeah.
It's a community, it's people who help each other, it's people who, offer a resource or a tip or advice, here and there. And really, it is my goal to continue to empower small businesses, entrepreneurs, people in general to do better things. All this is back to everything I do has the same goal,
I know.
to empower people, to do more with what they have.
Yep.
And if I can play any part in that in this city, I feel like I have accomplished something that affects generations of people. When businesses do better and they grow to hire other people, when businesses do better and they bring a product that Birmingham is known for, or a space does well and it becomes, the most Instagrammable place ever, like any of that I can play any part in, even in the smallest way, is really everything I'm doing is trying to do. I hope to one day impact the world, but I feel really sure I'm going to do that by impacting this city first.
Yep.
And that makes me happy to know that even now I feel like I'm in the thread of some people's, life. And that's a big deal for me.
Yep.
And I'm
Well,
going to keep doing
anybody who
it.
has
Let me.
listened to you thus far will not be surprised that there is a long list of awards that you have gotten over the last couple years, which now it's my turn to embarrass you. And they're really amazing. Like pretty much a Birmingham award, Jacqui has gotten it, marketing, CEO, Women to Watch. But just a couple weeks ago, you were it's not just a local award, it was a larger award. So I'm going to let you tell us
Oh
just a
gosh.
little bit about this award because it's awesome. So go ahead.
So now Beyonce and I are BFFs.
Woo-woo!
you know, it's the strangeness of 2020. So I was awarded the BeyGood, which is Beyonce's nonprofit organization, slash NAACP small business grant.
Yep.
And, this year has been super challenging for so many people. And I know that there are so many people who probably have applied for that. And that's the thing that really has touched my heart, is that I know for a fact, because I can see the numbers, how many people have applied for this. And it's funny. Did I tell you how I found out about this?
Yes.
It's crazy. But I am so grateful to be receiving this because it comes at such an important place in my journey.
Yep.
After hiring someone and being charged $2 every time I clicked somewhere, my pockets have taken a hit for sure. But just it's at such a pivotal place for my business. And then of course now me and B, because I'm convinced she watched my video.
Yes, I think she did.
I'm pretty sure Beyonce, if you're listening right now to me and Kim, just shout out to you for really, believing in me and really saying how much you liked my earrings.
That's right.
I feel sure you said that too when you watched it. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
And now we're friends, and I won't text you too much.
Well, I think the award, there's so many levels that I think it is great. One, it acknowledges the great work that you are doing. Two, I believe it's specifically for Black business owners.
Mhm.
And the work that you have done to support Black owned businesses and help them grow, even especially, before this year, I know how much you have done, but especially this year when it's on so many levels is just, 2020.
Yes.
Enough said. But and also it's a program that, again, you worked really hard to make this award happen as well. Like, you had to find it, you had to apply for it, and you did the work to really help elevate your business. I did not plan that out, but I love it when I'm that cheesy. But no, like, it just, in so many ways, is just a capture and a recognition of all that you do every single day because you want to help people. So thank you, Beyonce.
First, you're going to make me cry. And so
Oh,
stop. Because, it's these moments. I'm not going to cry, y'all, because it's a podcast and some of you can only hear me. And I don't want to be crackling. But, I do sit on both sides of the table, and I have this conversation all the time with people that I work with. Some kind of way I found myself into being a resource for small businesses, a resource for Black businesses, a resource for women-owned businesses, just a resource in general. And then also, but on the other side, I am the person who needs help. I am somehow the person who is helping and the person who needs help at the same time. And sometimes that's a tug of war in my time, in my energy, especially in my emotions.
Yeah.
So being on the receiving end of something that says, hey, we see you. Hey, you're working hard, and because of what you've done, because I didn't get that just because I applied, it mattered what I was building and that it would make a difference in what I was doing. And so because you've done the work, because you can, explain to us and we can see clearly what you've done, we can see that pouring into you pours into other people.
Yeah.
That means that this grant money doesn't stop with one degree. It doesn't stop with your team. It goes to other businesses. It continues to push everyone forward. That's a big deal for me. Like, and I cannot express how in perspective the award puts me. It's like, hey, it's okay. It's okay. You are on both sides of the table, but you are surviving, and there are people who are there for you, just like you're there for others. It means the world to me. It really does.
Well, I think you're pretty great. And all these awards, I'll put them in the show notes so I don't embarrass you too much. So if y'all want to see everything that Jacqui's gotten, you just look at the show notes. Okay, one last serious question. Like I alluded to, I love to hear lessons that people have learned along the way. And sometimes they're not applied to business, or it's not something that they necessarily learned from paying invoices. But what are a few of the lessons or encouragement that you can give people that you've learned along the way?
Did I know this question was coming?
Yes, you did.
Oh, I did. Oh,
yep.
wow.
I don't think we talked about it ahead.
Oh,
of
okay. Because the way
so you can just give us one if you have like one.
Well, I mean, of course, I have all the things I can say, but honestly, just in life in general, one of the things that I've learned along this journey that I thought was just cliche is to find and understand ways to put yourself first. And I think that I've always thought of that as selfish. And then, of course, when I became a mother, I really thought it was selfish. What do you mean, put myself before my babies, or whatever? And so, but you really cannot pour from an empty cup. You cannot be all the things to people if you aren't being all the things to yourself as much as possible, as much within reason. But so often, I know, like myself, a lot of people just get caught up doing and going and, getting things done. And so like this year, when I had to slow down, when home and work were the same place, and I had to figure out what I could do to help myself, I found myself not knowing. I was like, I don't know. All I do is work. All I do is go. All I do is mom. All I do is dog mom. All I do is wife. I couldn't remember even what it meant to put myself first, like really intentionally put myself first, and not in a, I never get to do anything kind of way. But when it all is said and done and you're tired and you're burned out, it's like, what do you turn to? How do you make sure that you don't get to that place? And that's really important in every aspect of life, and being a great parent and being a great just member of the community and being a great business owner. You have got to find ways to love on yourself, show yourself grace, know yourself well enough to know when you need help. Put yourself first.
Yeah.
In as many ways as possible. And I think what I've learned and what anyone will find is that somehow when you put yourself first, everyone else comes with you. It's like you realize there's no line. They're standing beside me, not behind me.
Yeah.
And I think we always think, oh, I'm gonna write that down, by the way, y'all.
Write it down, put it
Let me
on a
write
map.
it down. But it's the truth. We think that we're moving to the front of a line and all the people that we love and we care for and the work that we do is behind us, but that's not the case. All of these things are beside you. You don't carry things on your back always. You carry them in your arms. So if you're carrying family, if you're carrying a business, put yourself first. And when you move up, it's all going to move with you. It's a beautiful thing. It's hard, but it's a beautiful thing.
Wow, that's good. It's good to remember. It's very hard as a mom and a business owner and all the things, but it doesn't mean it's any less true.
Yeah.
Okay, now I just have a few fun questions for you, just two. So the first one is, and I'm pretty sure I prepared you, but maybe not, it'll be more raw. What is a favorite book, or if you have two, that has really helped you as you're in your business?
So before I knew I was so amazing, and I mean 2020 amazing, because I've been amazing for a long time, guys. But I read You Are a Badass. And that, for whatever reason, just really repeatedly reminded me that I was capable.
Like, never heard of that.
Really? It's
no.
So bright yellow. I would say there's one on my desk that you can borrow, but someone is borrowing it.
Oh, okay.
But it's by Jen Sincero, maybe. Okay. I may be saying that totally wrong, but it just was a reminder that you're capable, you are worth money. What you do is valuable. The people that you're around, you are worth more, than you probably are giving yourself credit for right now. And just that constant reminder was like, you know what? Yes. Just ask, make them tell you no. It's okay. Like that was a huge deal for me. Let's see. I also recently read, I'm so self-help bookish. I learned that this year. So I recently read Brene Brown's Dare to Lead.
Yeah.
I'm getting that wrong. I feel like I'm about to get it wrong.
Yep.
But another place where, a reminder that don't, silence the noise of people who are not fighting. They're talking about how you fight or what you do or whatever. Silence that. They're in the seats. They're not in the ring.
Yeah.
Being willing to, again, put yourself first and say, hey, yeah, there's some things I have to overcome, but I'm still capable of this. It's all that. I'm so self-help book. I really am. I'm such a self-helper.
Hey, one day you're going to have your name on one of them.
Oh, don't say that, because I wanted to write one right after my TEDx talk, but I was like, this is a lot.
One day you will.
One day we'll see.
Yep, you will. I'll keep reminding you, and then I'll get a little bit.
But then a third is Dr. Seuss's the places you'll go. Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah, that's my other one.
I love it. Okay. Wow. Favorite podcast, if you listen to podcasts to help.
I am not a huge podcaster.
You're not.
Just because so most people listen to podcasts in the car.
Yep. You always have a kid.
I listen to children's music.
That's right. I didn't start listening to a podcast till the kids were out of the car.
Yeah, I'm in that place with a 4-year-old where we have to ABC and John Jacob Jingleheimer Schmidt. We have to do that the whole ride. And when I'm not in the car, I'm working. And so I rarely listen. Now, I will say, kind of out of, because I'm married to him, I end up listening to my husband's podcast all the time.
Yeah.
And I really like his because I miss being a pure creative. It's called Mediums.
Yep.
And they talk about kind of all these struggles and ups and downs of being a creative. Really, it's about entrepreneurship, because they talk about spending money unnecessarily and not getting what they ask for, or how they get to what they're trying to create. And it's really interesting to listen to, because there's so many similarities to small business, even though I think a lot of creatives don't think that's true. So I do find myself listening to that, but not because I'm like a true podcaster.
Yep.
Because I have to listen to the ABCs in many different forms.
That's right.
I don't know how many ABC songs there are out there, but there are so many.
There are a lot. There are a lot. Well, Jacqui, thank you so much for being on the podcast today. You really do inspire me every day. And what?
You inspire me.
Oh, well, one of the things that I just love is that, You're never one to sugarcoat the realities of life as an entrepreneur or life as a wife and a mother while working to grow a business. So when your encouragement and your motivation comes through an Instagram post or through a Slack message, I know it's real and it motivates me to keep going and push myself beyond what I think is possible. So I encourage all of you listening to follow Jacqui's journey on Instagram or all the places. She's everywhere. We will have them all linked. And you'll also find a link to her TED Talk. It's 8 to 10 minutes. I'm not quite sure the exact time, but it is definitely worth a listen. So thank you, Jacqui. And Jacqui, congratulations on all of your recent awards.
Well, thank you.
You truly deserve them.
Coming from a person who has a nice list of awards herself. I really appreciate. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited for this podcast. Which
Thank you.
Yes, in the hallways of Forge, likely I will be listening to it.
That's right.
Building Birmingham and making it better and such.
That's right. Well, and also thank you to Forge for bringing us this podcast today. If you are listening and you're tired of working from home and looking for a professional place to work, to get work done, Forge is your solution. You can visit work@forge.com to schedule your tour today.